Welcome to Gunkle Tarot. My name is Brian Griffin. Today I'm going to give a mental health update since I did not do one in May, Mental Health Awareness Month, like I did last year. I believe my previous mental health update on YouTube was in November. People who follow me on Instagram have seen some updates since then, and you're certainly welcome to join me there on Instagram. The handle is Brian Griffin, spelled the exact same way as here. So, in November, with that last update, I believe we were on my first prescribed antidepressant, and at the same time we did a DNA analysis and discovered that that one was not really the best one for me. It was the least apt to work. So we weaned off of that and went on to a second prescription. Small dose, and then ramping up once it was clear I was okay with it. So I've been on that for a while at an upper dose, and recently added a second prescription, which is going to hopefully help with some of the less enjoyable side effects that seem inevitable with antidepressants. So we're doing well with that, and I will be talking to my psych nurse, I believe it's next month, to check in. Next week I will have another appointment with my therapist, my talk therapist. We are working. It is definitely a long process. I imagine they are not thrilled. They sort of expected it to be, I wouldn't say easier, a shorter time frame. But in the process, we've discovered that some of the earliest trauma is not childhood but infancy. And I won't go into a lot of the background. The previous previous YouTube comments, posts on Instagram, as well as a couple on my blog, which is briangriffin.com, go into more detail. Right now, the diagnosis is generalized anxiety disorder, an interesting take on dissociative identity disorder, and a complex form of PTSD resulting from the 80s, when what we now know as HIV/AIDS exploded in my community in Toronto. So there's a lot more to it about the trauma that has been posted elsewhere. So if you really want to know, that's there. So the update is that for the last, well, it's been the last few months have been particularly trying. The last month specifically, when I get up in the morning, 5 days a week, I take my fiance to work and come home because they start before the buses run. So when I come home for the last month, I have been doing nothing but toasted PB&J sandwiches, and they're not unhealthy. I mean, comparatively, but it's not really cooked food. And so I've been having that every day for breakfast, many days for lunch. The good news is my fiance cooks, so I am at least once a day getting a real meal, real food. But this morning, for the first time in a long time, I scrambled up some eggs, chopped up some Five Guys fries, added some salami and some spices. So that's turning a corner. And it's interesting that for a lot of people, it's like, he cooked, so what? But trust me, it's a sign. Another thing is I am posting a lot on Instagram, which is a tricky one. It often means that I'm not doing well and I'm reaching out to stay in touch with people. So a lot of Instagram posts is not necessarily a great sign, other than, of course, proof of life. So it's been stressful, and it's getting better in some ways. Still a lot of stuff to go through. I have, in the last month and a half, 2 months, been remembering more of my dreams. For the longest time, I had no dream recollection at all. And I'm talking about going back years. Previous partner / roommate back in the 80s would sometimes tell me about what I talked and said in my sleep because I talked, but there's no recollection of dreams at all. So that's an ongoing thing. So getting some dreams back, I'm choosing to see as a positive thing. A lot of the dreams are not making sense. They're not premonitions. They're not clearly explaining anything as far as I can see. But my internal process is allowing me to remember some. of the dreams, and I choose to see it's a good sign. So I'm alive, I'm reasonably well considering, and at this point I want to acknowledge the privilege I have. I'm on Medicare with a great Medicare Advantage program through a local nonprofit hospital group, so the benefits are pretty good. I'm not paying for out of pocket for the visits, lab tests, prescriptions at the moment are also covered through a government program because of my low income. So there's a certain amount of advantage and privilege there. I get taken more seriously because I'm an old white guy, etc. So I understand that. And again, I live with someone who loves me, and we will be getting married in front of a lot of my biologicals, all of whom love both me and my partner. And so I understand that I'm in better condition than many people, certainly getting better treatment. So I acknowledge that, which is also a bit of frustration because I would like to resolve this. I've spent almost 6 decades, certainly over 5 decades, ignoring all this and masking up to avoid revealing first, young gay guys tend to often be people pleasers to stay below the radar, and then I've masked a lot of stuff. So acknowledging my neurodiversity, coming to fully understand that I did have a complete psychotic break in Toronto in the late 70s that I've never talked to anybody else about because it's just there. So there's a lot going on. I'm feeling good, tired, but it feels like I'm going in the right direction, and I certainly appreciate the love and support of those close friends who have been there for me or been here for me, because I don't want you to be there for me. I want you to be here for me. Thank you all. Further updates as things happen.